Good afternoon and welcome to Nkhani Zathu, our stories radio program. This program comes to you every Tuesday at 13:30 to 14 hours on Pan-African Radio. Nkhani Zathu comes to you by Sochen Publishers in collaboration with Pan-African Radio. On this platform, we discuss all things relating to publishing, information on publishing, the literary sector, and arts. Now, what is special about this edition is that it is Women's Month. In this month, there are so many things that we are celebrating. We're celebrating the youth, we're celebrating our Poetry Day, but most importantly, we are celebrating the woman. And because Nkhani Zathu aims to talk about all things relating to storytelling, arts in Zambia, as well as African storytelling, we decided that who better than Saboi Imboela to come and help us understand what exactly women in arts have achieved. It is an honor and privilege to have the one and only Saboi Imboela on Nkhani Zathu. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It's very good to be here. I really appreciate it.
Okay. So, for the sake of someone that doesn't know you, you can just tell us who you are and what you do. Yeah.
Okay. I'm an artist, I'm an activist, a political scientist, and a politician now. So I'm passionate about all these things, and I think along the way I've had to do many of these things, and I can safely say all that, make what is Saboi Imboela.
She's a mother, a lovely mother.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And that actually is the most important and the biggest blessing that God gave me.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. So now, tell us about your background, your upbringing, and your introduction in the world of music.
Well, my upbringing, I was raised by a single parent. My father died when I was very young. So my mother raised me. She had 4 children. She was a civil servant, Not these civil servants that you see these days that drive. No. Those days, a civil servant was really a civil servant. So she had 4 kids to raise with a small salary. Not so much luxury, but she always said that education was our father. She'd tell us to say, you don't have a father, so education is your father, so work hard at school. And that's basically what I did. But for me, I think even the time I was at school, I loved both academics and arts, So I would sing at school, I would sing in the church choir. I was raised in the New Apostolic Church, so from Sunday school I started singing. At school we would mime Boys to Men. There were 4 girls. People would think that it's boys singing on stage, and it was 4 girls. It was 4 girls, and apart from that, I was also a sports person, a dependable sports person for that matter. When I was at school, I actually thought I would be famous in the country for winning the gold medal at the Olympics.
Okay. Yeah, what sports did you used to play? Now I'm curious.
Athletics.
Okay.
I was very good at the 100 and 200 meters, especially 200 meters. So that was actually what my dream was. I never saw myself being on a mic and singing, So shockingly, I think I had that direction for my life, and God had something completely different. Mm-hmm. I saw myself as a sportswoman. God saw me as an artist.
Okay. How did you get into the music industry?
In the music industry, because of the same miming that we were doing at school, when we completed school, a friend of ours wrote a very good song. His name was Jeff Kawana. The brother to Tawo Kawana, by the way, the current director for media. Yes, so his brother, elder brother, very good friend of mine, he wrote for us a song called I'm in Love. Beautiful song that the country has never heard actually. So when he did the song for us, the other ladies, the other girls by then that I was singing with, one of them being Mwangala Matibini from ZNBC. I don't know if she said ZNBC because she left. And there's another one called Ellie, another one called Violet, So he brought the song and said, can you do this song? So for them, they were like, no, actually we can't sing, we're just miming, so we can't do that. So I brought in a friend of mine. There's a friend of mine called Tandy. Tandy was my friend as well as her sister-in-law. So I said, oh, let's do this song. And she was like, okay, it's a very good song. I have another friend of mine, Barbara, who can sing, so she brought in Barbara. So Barbara and I did not know each other. We were brought together by Tandy. Mm-hmm. And that's how we came up with the group Chattel. Those days there were so many girl groups and everything. Mm-hmm. SWV, Salt and Paper, TLC. Mm-hmm. So we are in that era, and we came up with that group called SBT. Saboi, Barbara, and Tandy. calling it Sisters Popping the Tunes, you know. So again, we changed the name from that to Shuttle. You know, we got it from the word shuttle. You know, like when a plane is about to take off, it shuttles. So to me, that the sky is the limit. So instead of shuttle, yeah, we just rearranged the words or the letters and came up with Shuttle. So when we started, we were 3 of us. You know, yeah. But it was very hard that time to have support from families for music, because music was not doing so well at the time. So all of us, our parents, our friends, did not support that, you know. And for Tandy, I think that resistance from the family and the boyfriend at the time was too much for her. Barbara and I, we sought to go for our music, and both of us were dished by our boyfriends at that time. So for us, it was like, okay,
it's fine. Music
it's fine. Music is better. You get the point, yeah. And sadly for Tandy, even when she chose the boyfriend over music, a year later, so they broke up. You know, so for us, we just said, you know what, this is what we want to do. And by the time the country was knowing of Shuttle, it was the 2 of us and not the 3 of us.
Okay, interesting. How old were you by then?
20 something. I think 19, 20, somewhere there.
Oh,
19, 20 something, yes.
you are still are very ambitious, passionate about whatever you do.
Oh yes, certainly.
Yeah. So now, what challenges did you face when you were a music artist, or still are experiencing as a performing artist? If I can put it that way.
Okay. Well, to begin with, I think one of the things that I mentioned earlier on, the issue of support. You know, the families by then could not see many women that were in music doing what we wanted to do. There was an era of Teal Records. If Zambians have been following Zambian music, there was Teal Records, and we had so much music on ZNBC everywhere. When you see music by the Mlemena Boys, Pongo Z, Murio Mamba, all those generals born at that time, there was Teal Records. So with the leaving of Teal Records in the country, music in Zambia went down. You know, so Zambians now, or Zambia was infiltrated by Congolese music, South African, American. There was no Zambian music. You know, that was really making it big at the time. You know, so in the early 2000s, we had now people like Mondo coming on the scene to come up with these record labels, and we were lucky to be signed on by Mondo Music. You know, so with that now there was that vision by Mondo Music to create stars. So that's what Mondo would say. To say, want to create stars, want to ensure that we make music that Zambians can start buying all over again. You know, yeah. So we were amongst a few people that were signed on to the label by Mondo Music. You know, but because the vision had not yet materialized, people could not see what Mondo Music was saying. You know, so our parents, our friends were like, no, in Zambia, first and foremost, you can't make it big in Zambian music. You can't be stars, you can't be whatever, people can buy music. But I think they were proved wrong, you know, because Mondo, I think, went on to really do extremely well. You know, there were also other companies that came through, like a movie by Mr. Nyarenda, who now owns Movie TV. You know, there were sounds by Mr. Chisanga, Sounds the Kids. You know, so those individuals during that time, that is late 90s to early 2000s, they had that vision, you know, to have that renaissance of Zambian music, and they achieved it. And I think for us, we were just those artists that had the vision also, or that had the talent to make sure that their vision came to light, if I should use that word.
Okay. Interesting. So, what are some of the massive changes you've noticed in terms of people's attitude towards artists, specifically women in the industry? Like, what has changed from then to now?
Okay. The support is there. You know, I think in our time, nobody could say, I want to be a musician. You get the point, right? Because there were no really role models that you could look at and say, I want to be like that person. I normally do some activities in schools, you know, so with some organization. And it always interests me that when we go to certain schools, we start asking children what they want to be. They'll give you all sorts of careers, and others will say, I want to be a musician, I want to be a rapper, I want to be a that. That was not there in our time. You know, so that to me, I think is a very good thing, because the children now, they are able to relate. I want to be an artist like this one, an artist like that one, an artist like that one. You know, so for women also, you find that in most of these male-dominated industries, because music then and now, this is one of the similar things, then and now it was male-dominated. You know, so you find that like in all male-dominated fields, the women have to work harder than the men for them to be recognized. You know, and then art being what it is. In Zambia, you find that when you start doing art, they start thinking like maybe you're not a decent person and stuff like that. I remember the time when our parents were telling us not to go into music. My own mother and sister by then would even say, if you start singing, you're going to die of AIDS. You get the point? So and that was a feeling back then, because I talked about the issue of Chill Records, and at the time when, I had a lot of Zambian musicians dying at that time, by the way. We lost people like Akin Simpondo, look at the Lemena Boys, look at Pongos, all those people, they died at a certain time. And funny enough, Zambians just concluded that all those acts when they died of AIDS, because that was the time when AIDS was coming and everything, yes. So there was that. So families really feared, to say, you go into music, there's HIV there, And I remember asking my sister and my mother to say, so in music, do they put HIV and AIDS on the microphones? And I asked me to say, what do you mean? No. If HIV is contracted in music, the same way it's contracted any other way, then I won't get it. Unless you tell me that HIV is found on the microphone, then I'm going to contract it. So we had to fight such things, And for real, when we went into music, we discovered it was just a career like any other. In terms of decency, in terms of principles, whatever it is that you have, in any other career at school, whatever, you can still maintain that. And we did manage to maintain that, So at the end of the day, it's about what you want as a person, And as women out there, as a female musicians, also, there are normally these negativities, So people would come out and they would say whatever. And again, I remember my mother being so affected, because at the time, there was no social media at that time. That's when it was just coming up. But they'd be like mainstream media and everything, and people would create stories about artists. They would write anything. Sometimes this is a paper and it writes a fake story which didn't even happen. My mother, I remember being upset on my brother's family and everything. How can they do this? We're going to sue this paper, we're going to do that. So again, they came to realize that, okay, so everything that we're hearing about artists, the thing is actually not true, because now they have their children who are artists, and they came to realize that people out there will create themes about artists, So those are the things that I think artists still face in terms of amongst the biggest challenges, especially the females. The perception normally is bad. For a woman to make it, she must have slept with so many people. Maybe it's this one, maybe it's that one. And for Chateau, the success that we had, people just could not believe it, to say this is just normal success. Who's behind it? And at the time, I told you earlier on to say that my boyfriends we had at the time, people saying to me, because we were young and starting out relationships. Since the affairs had ended, we had people that I was saying, Barbara was saying, even when you go for a function with your boyfriend, they still can't believe that's your boyfriend. They had to put in somebody in the picture, because for you to be that successful, you have to date somebody who's rich, powerful, and not an ordinary person that you're coming with from where you live. You know what I mean? If you live in Chilenje, you live in Kawata, you have your boyfriend from your place, from your hood, from your comboni, from your compound. But they see that guy, they don't believe that this is a person that these girls are so successful can be dating. For them, they have to create all sorts of rumors. And I think that also has, or rather continues to happen even now, where the success of the female is attached to so many negativities.
Speaking of that, as a gender and youth empowerment activist, why does it seem like music or art portray women as objects? And is this trend likely to have some form of closure?
Well, sadly, I don't see it having some form of closure anytime soon. They have this thing about sex selling, when it comes to art, when it comes to adverts and everything. And these are the things that we always need to fight, But sadly, if you look at arts worldwide, people are just taking off their clothes, And sadly, it has come to Zambia so much as well, whereby people sometimes forget their talent and they concentrate on trying to show their bodies, But if you're principled, if you know what you want, you have to more or less create the narrative. You have to show people what it is that they should view you as. If all the time you want to be half naked and everything, people will see you as that. You find that even your talent sometimes is overlooked. I talked to one or two artists in the past, not publicly, but just talking to them like individually, to say, you are so talented, but people don't even see that. People don't get it because of this. Maybe if you can go this direction or that direction, you get the point. So that also affects the industry. In America, it's really worse. Like I've said, you find that if somebody is starting, they'll be dressed in a certain way, I'll give an example of Rihanna. We even had the Good Girl Gone Bad, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
imagine from the first album, and that what she started doing later on, and many of these others. So yeah, that's sadly how it is. I don't see it ending anytime soon, sadly.
After all, it sells.
It sells, so it's about the money for the industry. So whatever sells, they go for that.
Okay, you have worked with many producers or quite credible producers and people in the industry. What skills did you need to develop in order to create to work so well with other creatives and in such a confident manner, I should say?
Okay. Amongst the talents, if I should call it that, it's just the singing talent itself, because we were musicians, we were singers. Of course, others are coming in as producers, songwriters, and everything. You know, we were songwriters ourselves. If you look at the Chateau albums, we did half of their songs that we were singing, and we just call other people to say, come and write songs for us, you know, so that we have that different flavor, you know. So we worked with people like Joy Chibangu, who was our main producer on all songs, being the main producer on Mondo Music, you know. Moses Sakala wrote Chikondi cha Mumjima for us. You know, I talked about a guy called Jeff Kawana. Jeff did Chikondi, the title of the first album. Alio Muntu did Gentleman for us, you know.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you. Joy Chibangu wrote Chilumendo and all sorts of things. So in terms of the collaboration, it's just a matter of you coming with your talent, like us, the singing talent, and the writing as well, and then others bringing in other talents. And for us also, we're always very critical with the kind of messages. You know, people would come with all sorts of messages and would say, we can't sing about this, we can't sing about that. I remember when Moses Sakala wrote Chikondi cha Mumjima, for example, he wrote it as a song which said, I am a woman going out with a married man. And I love this man and there's nothing that you can do. You know, I love him so much. So we're like, we are not going to sing such a song. You know, we are role models and we have a lot of young girls, women out there that are looking up to us. If we're going to sing such a song and endorse, you know, such a vice, I don't think it would be good for us. And funny enough, at the same time, Ballad Zulu had written a song similar to that, you know. And Zambians may remember that there was a song that was like that in the past before us, which was really very popular. The song called Never Pity Anyone Conda, Anyone Conda, Never Pity.
I was so young.
Yeah, this one was like that. You know, this is a side chick saying, I love Mr. Period, but I can't be scared of the wife. You get the point. So there was a song like that in the past, which was so popular. So they came up with the same concept. But we refused and said, we're not going to do that. We're going to sing a song whereby, yes, the married man is after this girl, but she says no. And thank God it became as popular as it was, because people received the messages, and most times we'll be performing in the salon and somebody will tell you, I was dating this married person, and because of the song, wherever we go, it was singing, it was ringing, it was playing, and I broke up with him, you know. So we were happy that at least what we wanted to do out there happened, whereby you influence positive behavior and not negative behavior.
Okay, so other than standing on good principles and just speaking your mind, what other things does an upcoming artist need? Like, what skills do they need to possess, or just character-wise?
Character-wise, first of all, know who you are, and as a woman also, the truth of the matter is this: in a male-dominated industry, men may want to take advantage of you, so don't. You know, I know that because of these rumors that go on to say, for people to make it, they have to do ABCD. People start feeling that if you're coming, start feeling that for you to make it, you have to go through a certain route. I can safely, you know, sit here and boast and say, Chateau never had to do that. We didn't have to sleep with anyone to make it at where we got. You get the point? So to any upcoming artists out there, don't be cheated. If you have the talent, you have the talent, and God will bless you like that. You know, so at the end of the day, be confident with your craft, you know, and make sure that all the time you're a person that is able to build yourself, you know, be confident and everything. And for me also, it's about what you love. I'm a Lozi, you know, by ethnicity, and I remember by then the songs that were selling so much, even now, by the way, it was Nyanja and Bemba. So there was that thing even in the studio to say, no, we can only sing Nyanja and Bemba because they're the ones that are selling. And I remember Mondo, by that time, the Dizimas and Black Mondo had just released those two beautiful albums, and they sold over 3,000 copies. And they were like, both of them were just singing Nyanja and Bemba. The Dizimas was Lozi, by the way, but the entire album was Nyanja Lozi, you know, because he was responding to the market. But once when we came on the scene, I said, I am not going to do an entire album with just Lozi, and Bemba, with us Nyanja and Bemba rather, we need other languages. And we put in the Lozi, which is Naitopela. We put in a Gentelemani, which is a song that we love. And because it was different, we hit so big, you know. The record label even at the time thought that no artist could beat Daddy Zimas or Black Moon in terms of sales. But within a few weeks, we actually doubled that. Instead of the 3,000 copies, we made over 6,000 within a short period of time. And among the same was because we had something which people did not have. You know, so always study the market and see what is out there. And when there's something which people don't have in terms of language, in terms of genre, in terms of just messages, experiment and do what is best or what is definitely not common on the market.
Okay. What would you say to your 16-year-old self in terms of about being a woman in music, what to expect, difficulties and things like that?
Well, my 16-year-old self, I would tell her to be confident, you know, to be prayerful, you know, to trust God, you know, for the process, to trust God with the talent. Because at the end of the day, you can do your best, but God always has to do the rest. You know, so don't beat yourself so much when you work so hard and things don't work out. Maybe sometimes God has got something better for you. I'm a person that never wanted to sing, by the way. I told you earlier on, my dream was being a sports person. When I completed my grade 12 there and then, I was admitted to go to University of Zambia. But my mom by then didn't have money, so I had to wait. I told myself, but my family said, you have to wait for a year or two for you to enroll back. But I started doing music at the time. And the music became so successful that I could not even go back to school. You know, in many years, I went back to Uz, I think after 9 years or so. You know, so you can tell sometimes to say, you may have plans and God has got other plans. So do your best, God does the rest. And also like they say, man plans, God laughs. You know, so you can be planning something and God is laughing and saying, my goodness, this is your direction. And for me also, I'd like to thank God so much for that. Because what people don't even realize is that my 16-year-old self, Saboi primary secondary school, I was a very shy person.
I would have never guessed.
No, you wouldn't have. You know, I was a very shy person. I met one of my classmates recently and it was like, I normally tell my wife to say I was with her at school and she was very shy. She has changed, you know. When we were singing in Chateau, the first 1-2 years, we'd wear shades on the stage all the time because I was so scared to look at people in their eyes. So because of me, we had that of wearing, the image of wearing shades and everything. But later on, we just said, you know what, enough is enough. We just took off the shades and started singing without shades. So I was very shy. So God engineered that. If it was up to my dreams, from Arakan Secondary School, I would have gone to Unza, become a lawyer or whatever. That was my dream. But God said, wait a minute, my plan for you is this and that. And God had a better plan for me. And because of music and what it exposed me to, the audiences and everything, it took away my shyness. You know, later on, because of that background, I was able to be a lecturer. I was able to be an advocacy and communications person for Save the Children. For many organizations, I was able to do advocacy works. And later on, I was able to do the kind of activism and politics that I'm able to do now because of that background where God took away that shyness from me.
Okay, so speaking of plans now, what should we be looking forward to from Saboi music-wise? Have you retired completely or do you still have plans of releasing something out there? And most importantly, are you mentoring some certain people in terms of music? Yeah, so
I'm not a performing artist anymore. I'm not a professional artist anymore, but I've never really left the art. I do a lot of campaigns, a lot of works in the background. You know, I work a lot with gospel artists. I've worked a lot with gospel artists along the way, you know, secular artists as well. So I've always had that, you know. And for me and Barbara, almost every year we tell ourselves, let's just release one song and, you know, put it out there. Because the demand is always there from our fans to say, we're going to do even just one song. And we promise them, we're going to do this. In the past, we've even had interviews. The other time we were on the rooftop on the NBC and we promised people that. But now we have known to say, let's not promise anything. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But we'd really, really love to do, let's say, 1 or 2 songs just for them, for all time's sake. You know, and I pray that maybe this year is the year when it really happens, you know, because I would really love to do that, but just time is never there for us to do it.
Okay, but with the way I understand your art, I know you're not just a musician, you also write. So I believe maybe you could be expressing yourself creative wise in other ways. Is that something that we should be expecting? Maybe a book or whatnot? What other creative or artistic expressions are you? Do you see yourself maybe releasing sometime?
I'm praying that this year I can have a book out.
Okay.
If not 1 or 2 books, I'm a writer at heart. Most musicians will tell you to say when they were young, when they were upset, they'll start singing and everything. For me, when I was upset, I'd start writing. I remember the first thing that I ever wrote in my life was a letter where I said, "Dear Father," because my mother had, I think she had beat me or she had shouted at me and everything. And as a child, your mother's really upset you, and you don't have your father died. So I wrote this thing to say, "Dear Father," I was complaining. So look at what she's doing to me, you get the point. And I wrote it in such a good way that instead of being upset, first of all, my mother read it, she was so impressed with the writing skills. You get the point? Everybody who wrote it was so impressed with the writing skills. So for me, I think I would really love that. And I always bemoan the fact that Zambians don't write. But I tell myself to say I'm one of them who's going to be writing and publishing. So I really love that. Yes, in terms of songs also, because I'm a songwriter. And I think I still remain the female artist who has written more songs for Zambian musicians up to now, because for me one of the talents I have is that because of the writing I also write songs. So I've written many songs for people like JK, the Silamari, one who won them, the first idols, Black Muntu, quite a number of artists in the country, Danny Ped, all those, so I always say I need to do something. I've been talking to Mampi, for example, because I need to do this song for you. I think I started telling her that maybe 3-4 years ago. And at some point I even did the song and everything, but just having that. So hopefully this year when I want to really, really write in terms of the book and the music, maybe I'll do that. There's another girl also called Tiwa Hills. Tiwa Hills won the first African champion, Yes, she was the best in Zambia, even the best in entire Africa. So she's actually a person that I even manage, for sometimes I work as a manager for some artists here and there. So she's another person I've been saying, okay, let's do this, and I've written on 2 songs for her. So that's another song or songs that people also listen to before the end of the year.
Okay, so in just a few minutes, because we're winding up, what is your takeaway message for women in line with this year's theme, which is digital innovation and technology for gender equality?
Okay. First and foremost, everybody should use the technology now. There's this thing of resisting technology where people still feel that they have to do certain things the way they should do them a long time ago for them to feel like they're doing the right thing. In music, for example, when we were singing and then you bring out a promo or the first album, you'd have to burn so many CDs, take to Intercity there, the Majandu buses, and then at that time you put on all their roads. So you're taking the CDs to almost all the community stations across the country. You get the point. But these days you've got WhatsApp groups where there are DJs and musicians from all over the country. So that is one of the things that even when upcoming artists come to me and they say, I want you to help me with my music, this is my song and everything, I always tell them, one thing I'll help you with, I'll make sure that you get added to this group. When you get added to this group, put your music there. 1 or 2 maybe DJs or presenters that can help you with an interview or whatever, but push, because it's easier now than it was for us. For us you have to do it physically, you have to do that. But with the technology now, people can take advantage of that. So even the women take advantage of that. I know that there's a lot of cyberbullying, for example. So people in the country, especially women, sometimes stay away from social media. They're scared because of the bullying that goes on. But the truth of the matter is that with these new technologies, we have no choice but to use them to advantage. Even when you're being cyberbullied, for example, if you're selling a product, make sure you're online and you're trying to sell it. If you've got music, make sure you're there, you're trying to do that. Because unlike our time, like I said earlier on, where you had to do certain things physically to advance your career, now with technology, maybe in platforms where you can sell your music, now it's easier and better,
And that's a wrap on Nkhani Zathu. This is what we aim to do. We reflect the Zambian identity through arts. Catch us again next week, Tuesday at 13:30 to 14 hours on Pan-African Radio 96.1. I have been your host, Rina Kasongo. Until next time, have a pleasant afternoon.